Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days and welcome to the video that I've been asked for more than any other these past few weeks, and that is my top 5, my high 5, that's 10, 5, high 5 worst wrestlers of 2016, and this was tough. Eva Marie is not in my top 5 worst wrestlers, and the reason for that is that, you know, she's been injured, she's been suspended, we've just not seen that much of her, and even when they could have done something with her, her gimmick on SmackDown was to put off actually having a match. For me, that's the best gimmick they could have given Eva Marie, so I was totally fine with that as a gimmick. I hope they run that gimmick for the next 20 years. So yeah, she doesn't make the list this year anyway. And as I say, you know, there might be a few other surprises, but let's get straight into it. At number 5, Dana Brooke. First of all, let me say I feel really sorry for Dana Brooke. She is a gymnast with 18 years experience. She is a champion bodybuilder. She is agile, she is powerful. She could be clearing house down in NXT at the moment, but they rushed her. They brought her to the main roster far too soon, and she's not ready. She's out of her depth. She's having to do her development and her learning on the main roster, and that doesn't work, and it doesn't work for her, and it's kind of putting her in a situation now where I don't know if they're going to be able to save her. The other problem as well is that Emma actually got injured on the main roster, and so then they were just left with Dana Brooke, and they didn't know what to do. So they put her with Charlotte, and I think they were hoping that Charlotte would be able to show her the ropes and kind of fast-track Dana's development. It didn't work. It didn't work that way, and all that's happened is really Dana was seen as kind of weighing Charlotte down, and in any kind of opportunity or matches that Dana got, her weaknesses and her lack of experience and the fact that she couldn't tell stories within the ring, the fact that her moveset's very limited, at the moment at least, really did shine through. She needs to go back to NXT. She needs to spend at least a year down there, and then we need to see where we are at that point. At number 4, Elias Sampson. Now, Elias Sampson might not be known to many of you, but he broke through down in NXT earlier this year. There was a lot of promos, kind of vignettes, kind of building his arrival, and when he did arrive, it was very, very disappointing. He's not very smooth in the ring. There are no moves or spots that he does that are eye-catching. Even some of his basic kind of maneuvers like drop kicks, even locking up just doesn't flow right. And I do find him quite distracting because I'm not a fan of his gimmick, and then I'm not a fan of his in-ring abilities, and then on top of all of that, I don't really rate his promos. I don't think they've given him much to work with. And I think that a large part of the problem is that NXT still is a developmental, and I think they have someone that is capable of performing in the ring. They have a gimmick that they were clearly quite passionate about giving to someone, and I totally understand why they've put the two together, but the NXT crowd is very unforgiving. You need to be an indie darling, or you need to have a phenomenal gimmick to get over in NXT. Sadly, Elias Sampson didn't provide any of that, and as a result, he won a few squash matches, but didn't look good doing it, and then any matches of any meaning, he got squashed himself. They need to abandon it, and they need to give him a new gimmick, and they need to keep him off TV for quite a while so that he can at least come up with something, anything that's going to be engaging to the audience. At number 3, the Shining Stars. Now, at least with Elias Sampson, he's developmental and he's in NXT and he's not the finished article, whereas with the Shining Stars, they are. There is nothing about them that is intriguing or interesting or engaging. There is nothing about even their in-ring work that really works for me. You know, you see some of the fantastic tag matches that we've enjoyed this year. Straight away, I'm thinking American Alpha against the Revival. I'm thinking about some of the great work TM61 were doing recently. Obviously, hashtag DIY. We've seen some great stuff from Sheamus and Cesaro. There is loads of opportunity for them to come up with an engaging kind of style. I mean, they are real life cousins as well, so you would think that they would have this fantastic understanding. You know, I'm sure they room together and travel together, but they've come up with nothing. And not only that, WWE have given them maybe the worst gimmick in the whole company right now. Even worse than when they were Los Matadores. At least they had a nice costume, at least. They haven't even got that now. So, yeah, this has been a real bad repackage for Epico and Primo. Now we're getting down to the real nitty gritty, and now it starts to become more than just bad wrestling. Now we're starting to look at external factors. So at number 2, I've got Sin Cara. Now, Sin Cara obviously started off the year in the Lucha Dragons, and the Lucha Dragons I thought actually were a good tag team. You never knew what they were going to do. I think Sin Cara and Kalisto kind of linked up well together. They put on some good performances in NXT in particular, but they never seemed to be able to really get it together. There's a few moments at the end of 2015, but I can't recall anything from 2016. And not only that, they split up when we get to the brand split, and Sin Cara just did nothing. I remember Sin Cara getting squashed by Braun Strowman. In fact, a few times I can remember him being squashed by Braun Strowman. He's now found himself in the Cruiserweight division, but I don't see him being like a big player in that. They're clearly setting Neville up to be like the big dominant force in the Cruiserweight division. I don't see what this is going to leave Sin Cara. But not only that, at the start of November, Sin Cara was actually in a real life fight with Chris Jericho. They fell out whilst they were on the European tour. Apparently Sin Cara has been really annoying on the tour bus. Quite a few people told him to, you know, stop being annoying. Jericho did it a little more forcefully, and the two of them ended up getting into a fight. And it's just, there was nothing going on for Sin Cara anyway. He's botched a few moves this year. There's nothing in his future. I mean, at least with Kalisto, you know, Kalisto started the year as US champion, and you can kind of see that they will give Kalisto some kind of opportunity again in the future. But Sin Cara's time has been and gone. There is no need for him. There are better luchadors in the WWE, certainly following the Cruiserweight Classic that we enjoyed over the summer. And I just think that he's redundant now. His time is up, and if he's causing problems outside of the ring as well as botching inside the ring, this has been a bad 2016 for Sin Cara. Sin Cara. And that brings me to number 1, the worst wrestler of 2016. I would say drum roll, but I literally have no drums. Is Alberto Del Rio. What a terrible year this has been for Alberto. He started off as US champion, and literally by the middle of January he'd already lost the title to Kalisto. That belt goes backwards and forwards, but ultimately he loses that feud and he doesn't win the US title back. He goes on with the League of Nations, one of the most underwhelming factions we have ever seen, and his match at WrestleMania against the New Day was largely throwaway. There was no, I mean, they end up winning that match, but it resulted in nothing. They didn't get the tag titles, and it went nowhere. He was drafted to SmackDown. He loses to John Cena, and then he gets suspended. Suspended for violating the wellness policy. And whilst he's suspended, WWE and Alberto Del Rio agree to part ways. That is less than a year after he came back with one of the biggest fanfares we've ever seen. Del Rio, you see, had a great run, like 2013, 2014, and was a world champion in WWE. He steps away, does some fantastic work on the indie scene. I know he does a bit of work with like Ring of Honor and more notably Lucha Underground, and he was hot property. Everyone wanted Alberto Del Rio. WWE managed to re-sign him, and then on his first night back, he defeats John Cena and wins that US title. This is at the end of 2015, and as we say, you know, 2016 was just an absolute disaster. The reason that he tops the list, though, is not only is his in-ring abilities kind of watered down in WWE, he's better than what WWE allow him to show. So not only, you know, must that be frustrating for him, and certainly frustrating for us, but the damage that he has done to Paige's career. Paige, you know, was in PCB, Paige, Charlotte and Becky in 2015. Currently, as we're recording this, Charlotte is the women's champion on Raw, Becky is the women's champion on SmackDown, and Paige finds herself pretty much out of the WWE. And the reason for that is because she started hanging around with Alberto Del Rio. They are engaged now, and she says that he kind of saved her, and that she was going down some bad paths anyway, which I'm sure, you know, there's truth to that. But certainly things seem to have spiraled and taken a turn for the worse ever since she really started getting serious with Alberto Del Rio. And we find ourselves now in a situation where not only has Alberto Del Rio left WWE, but also it looks like Paige has as well. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please give the video a like if you liked it. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully you'll join me again next time when I'll go through my high 5 best wrestlers of 2016. Bye for now.